According to the manual, to check the oil, you need to do it when the engine is hot, and that they say that means riding for at least 10 miles to warm the engine up, and not to idle it at a standstill to warm the engine up. So yeah, it's best to do it after a ride, generally, I think, and the bike has to be level, both wheels on the ground. So that's a little tricky to do, but the way that I've done it here is I've leaned the bike up against the wall in the garage. I've put a wedge under the side stand there to hold it in place. Obviously don't want it to fall over onto me when I'm checking the oil. First thing we have to do is move this tag out of the way. This is here to stop the dipstick cap from coming undone and falling out during riding. I'm not sure if it's really necessary, but it seems to have it on. And yours might be different to this, because I had to make a new one of these because my old one broke. But you might just bend it out of the way, but this one I'll have to undo the nut to loosen that, move it out of the way, and then I use this large spanner to just release the dipstick. It's not tight, but it's just a little hard to do with your fingers. So we start off wiping it all clean. And now, okay, so I noticed my there's a rubber O-ring there, so be careful not to lose that. That should really stay in the cap. So I'll just put it back in the cap there. Wipe off any loose oil, stop it from dripping. Now, according to the manual instructions, you place the dipstick in like that, but you don't screw it in, and then you remove it again and you look to see where the oil is. So this is where the manual is confusing, because it does say fill it to close to the maximum mark, but I think the maximum, the top of the hatchings, is much too full. I think the correct mark should really just be in the centre near the small line, and I've certainly overfilled mine beyond that. Now if you do fill it up to the top, this is what I found. It will spit out excess oil, and it will spit it out into the air filter box. I'm going to have a look at that in a minute. So after filling it up to here, it's now gone down again to where you see, to about halfway, because it's put it out into the air filter box. So I'm going to let that now find its own natural level. If you do a full oil change and you put in the 2 litres that's recommended, then you know you've got the right amount. Now I haven't done an oil change on this bike yet, so I don't know how much is in there, but I'm pretty confident that it's got plenty now, as it started spitting the oil out. So now that I've checked that and I'm happy with it, just put that back in. It really only needs to be, I guess it only needs to be finger tight, but I'll just give it a tiny little nip up with the spanner there. It's plastic, so don't over tighten it or it might break. Don't want that. Once that's in, I just tighten this up again to hold it, to make sure that it doesn't, there's no way it can come out. The air filter is underneath the saddle, so we need to remove the saddle, and the air filter is right here. I'm just going to use a Phillips screwdriver here to remove this 4 screws holding the air filter in place. So just remove the 4 screws, remove the cover, just plastic cover, and then remove the air filter itself, which is this paper air filter. Now the interesting thing is, what do you find in the bottom of the air filter box? This box here, there is in fact a puddle of oil, and I'm sure if you can see it there, the camera's picking that up, but there's about half an inch of oil in the bottom of there, and it obviously is not supposed to be in the bottom of there, and I cleaned that out a couple of days ago. I've done one journey of about how far? About 120 miles, and that's how much oil has come out. So I'm assuming that it's blowing out excess oil that it doesn't really need in there, and eventually it's going to stop when it gets to the right level. So a bit of googling and of all other owners' experiences, you know, people have mentioned this before, that this is what happens, and not to really worry about it, but just to clean it out and don't overfill the oil so that it doesn't spit it out. It's annoying that it does it, but I think it's a case of learning a lesson about the bike and not overfilling the engine with engine oil.